Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I need to report an anonymous tip. Who do I talk to?
Okay. This is regarding what?
This is regarding a mass suicide.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Paranormies present the Ahnenerbe Hour. I am Johnny Monoxide, and tonight I'm joined by Adam Haidt, Bradshaw Wilson, and Larry Ridgeway. What's happening, guys?
Hello.
Hey,
About to ascend to another level.
level above human.
Right. Alrighty then. So, yeah, you guys heard that little intro there.
Yeah, that sounded really good.
Yeah, it sounds like a very.
I mean, not what
interesting-
happened, but
No, it's a very interesting subject to say the least. Well, might as well just go ahead and get into it. Tonight we're going to talk about the Heaven's Gate. They were, I don't know, what'd you call these
They're a
guys?
cult.
They're a cult. They're straight up a cult. They even called themselves the cult of all cults. Before we get into that,
They're often referred to as a UFO cult, is what people typically call them.
Oh yeah. Well, let's before we even get into that, let's talk about cults in general for a little bit. We got some people might think that that the alt-right is a cult. You join the alt-right, you joined a cult. It's not really. Oh, I don't know. Maybe cults are what? There's social groups, right?
young horses, male. Oh,
No, it's
Cult
cult.
is a,
That's the cult, not a cult. A cult, Adam. You're thinking of something else.
oh, right.
Right.
See, the
don't know,
definition here is
I would think that there's not really a religious. There's a little bit philosophical aspect to the alt-right, but there's no like religious aspect,
Oh.
and there's no leader. There's no one like
Yeah, there's no
kind of
leader.
bringing us in and keeping us here.
What? Richard Spencer, BTFO. No.
well, here I'm seeing that the term cult usually refers to a social group defined by its religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs, or its common interest in a particular personality, object, or goal. I mean, the alt-right, I guess, could fit into there. I mean,
I would say the particular personality, object, or goal is the most important part of the definition.
Me too. I would say so.
yeah, we all have a common interest.
Yeah, well, right, but it's a common interest in that personality, object, or goal. Like, everybody worships, the guy, the whoever, or the guy, or the thing. I mean, like, you can consider, back way back in the Bible days when they worshipped the golden calf. That would be a cult, right? Because they were worshiping an object. As opposed to a religion, any of the religions where they worship a thing as opposed to a deity. Well, actually, you could pretty much call any religion a cult. To be quite honest with you, fam.
It really depends on how it's expressed.
You think so?
Well,
Yeah,
cult
I
has
think
some
most
negative.
religions start off as cults. Like, Christianity was an apocalypse cult at the beginning, and an apocalypse in the modern use. Technically speaking, an apocalypse just means a revealing, a revelation. But you understand what I mean. Like an end times cult. There was I'm pretty sure Seventh-day Adventists started off as a end times cult. So that's a pretty popular or very common type of cult, is the end times. Like, very, very soon the physical realm will be drastically altered, usually in a very destructive way, and it's up to us to get ourselves ready for it.
Yeah, and
that's part of why.
Hold on one second. Yeah, Larry, if you could either get closer to your mic or speak up or something, because you got real quiet there, bud.
oh, sorry guys, is this better?
Much, thank you. Okay, what were you gonna say, man?
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say about the structure of cults and whatnot. They're usually pretty rigorous. You know, they have like a they care a lot about the quality of people in the group, more so than the quantity of people. They're usually like pretty strict with the way that they do things. Like you can't just half-heartedly be into a cult. Like the cult is something that, you know, you need to kind of go into like with your whole heart.
That's a good point.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, well, there's always groups of these things. You know, you've got different kinds of cults. There's political cults. There's racist cults. There's polygamist cults. There was terrorist cults. You know, doomsday cults is a very popular one.
Well, just look there. Like the term cult has that negative connotation to it, and what there in like the eyes of the normie, what describing like attribute of those cults, like destructive, racist, polygamist, terrorist, political doomsday, like which one of those could be construed as positive? Like, and whenever something, because like Christianity began as a cult and it was looked at negatively, whereas now it's been like Judaized, and now it's not. The people don't look at it as a cult anymore. That's just something that they wouldn't even think.
Well, it's one of
Did you say the Branch Davidians were a cult?
Yes, I would definitely say the Branch Davidians were a cult. Yeah. I mean, to a point. I mean, you know, they were like a breakaway group. That they were. I think that they were politicized into a cult as more than they thought they really were.
Well,
you know,
you just mentioned yourself. They're polygamist cults, and I would describe them as a polygamist cult.
Yeah.
Yeah. In as much as David Koresh was the one practicing the polygamy as opposed to everyone else. Pretty good for him.
Well, he was
he was the
cult of personality there.
He was the Jesus. Yeah. I mean, well, you know, you've got, and in Christianity in and of itself, you've got a bunch of different Christian cults as well. You know, you've got your basic, you know, Christianity, which came out of, you know, that Jesus guy. But then, there's like, you know, the different Christian cults that follow different interpretations of Christianity. So like, you know, then you've got as opposed to you have a personal interpretation by an individual as opposed to just the understanding of the Bible itself. So, you know, you've got like, for example, Jehovah's Witnesses, you've got the Church of Latter-day Saints, Christian Science, Unitarian Universalism. Like those are all what would be considered, I guess, Christian cults. Because mainstream Christianity, you know, you've got mainstream Christianity falls in the big three, right? You've got Christianity, you've got Judaism, and you've got Islam, right?
All derived from the same thing.
Yeah, very interesting how all three of these derive from the same thing in the same area around the same time. That's a whole different thing for another episode, I suppose.
I don't.
What were you gonna say, Larry?
No, I was just going to say, I don't think that this is a coincidence. I mean, I think that something could be up here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, we don't believe in coincidences here on the Paranormies. However, yeah, so you've got like a cult movement in Christianity, you know, like a subculture of cults inside of Christianity itself. And I think in Judaism you do as well. What do you have? You've got I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call them cults. Well, I mean, Judaism in general is a cult, in my opinion. You've got you've got your Orthodox. You know, you've got your what are they called? The Ludovich Jews, the Doomsday Jews. And then you've got
the Hebrew Israelites.
The Black Hebrew Israelites.
That's right.
You want to talk about a cult? Jesus.
Yeah. And then in Islam, you've got the many different sects of Islam. You've got the Shiites and the Sunnis
Wahhabists.
and the Wahhabists. The Wahhabist Muslims seem to be a completely different animal of Islam in and of itself. Like, it's not at all. They don't follow. I don't know enough about it to really, I'm hazarding a guess here. But they don't follow the Quran, I don't believe, like they're supposed to. They seem to be more Judaistic, if that's a word, as opposed to Islamic, in my opinion. Maybe because the Saudis are crypto Jews. I don't know. Maybe there's that. Anyways, that's a whole other thing. We touched on that a little bit when I was on the Daily Show for 9/11. What was that?
The Wahhabist sect of Muslims is like the like the Saudis sat around for thousands of years debating over the Quran, the same, like trying to argue with whoever the fuck they worship, the same way the Jews did, and like trying to argue with God.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing with Jews is you have the rabbinical lore of the rabbi that argued with God and won. That's
just so fucked.
Such a cult of speaking of cult of personality, rabbinical Judaism, Talmudic Judaism is a complete cult of personality. There is no one more powerful in Judaism than the rabbi. What the rabbi says goes. Doesn't matter if he's wrong because he's not wrong. That's again, and we're getting. He's the rabbi. Yeah, we're getting into but that's the other thing is where Christianity has its Holy Trinity of God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Judaism has Yahweh, Moloch, and the Jews themselves see themselves as God. So
literal self-worship, like literal self-worship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was that on Haidt? We brought that up on Haidt House, didn't we?
What? How they just worship themselves? I mean, we probably did. We talked about how shitty Jews are over there all the time.
I don't know.
Really?
We start talking about.
What a coincidence!
We start talking about. We start talking about that stuff, and I blacked out and I forgot what I was saying. But I pulled a Frank the Tank from fucking old school.
Frank the Tank. Yeah. It's so good. Once it touches your lips, it's so good.
All right. Back to the cults. Okay, so cults, from what we've seen, cults tend to be in the United States. They tend to be more destructive, like the actual what are put under the header of actual cults. You've got Jim Jones and the People's Temple. That's a good one, man. I kind of think that we could do, we've been doing serial killers. I think we could do cults. We could do several different shows on the different cults.
I want to cover Children of God.
Hold on,
that's one
at a time, dude. Hold on. What were you gonna say now? You said which one? Yeah, Bradshaw. You go.
Children of God.
Okay. Who's that?
Because we're going to get into like some aspects of Heaven's Gate, and then you look at Children of God, and they're complete opposites.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
I'll talk about that later, though.
It's fucking insane. The People's Temple.
That's Jim Jones from San Francisco. He took a bunch of blacks to Africa and killed them all. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing of value was lost. But
communists, fucking communism, dude.
Mm-hmm. It was straight up communism, yeah. But there's those, you've got you've got UFO cults, you've got the Seekers. You guys ever heard of the Seekers? From the mid 1950s. There's a UFO religion called the Seekers. Yeah. Well, they had the typical the prophetic leader who he ended up failing. There was a book written on that one called When Prophecy Fails, a social and psychological study of a modern group that predicted the destruction of the world. In the 80s, there was a lot of doomsday cults. People actually thought that they might have been some sort of serious threat to society. That these your kids are going to run off and join a cult. Then that gets into the in the 80s. Also, there's that ritualistic satanic abuse stuff that goes on there. That's that. You know, there's those cults. If you've ever seen the movie, Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd, Dragnet. It's the movie based on the old cop TV show called Dragnet. You guys ever see that movie with Tom Hanks? And it's Dabney Coleman. He's like a cult leader. Anyways,
Tom Hanks died, dude, didn't he? Tom Hanks just
dude.
died.
Is that a meme?
About that.
Is that a meme, or he really? That's not. He's not dead. I hate you guys.
Press F.
Press F. No, it's not press F. It wouldn't be a shame. That guy's fucking politically cancer. But yeah, so it was a take on these '80s cults that were really popular, that were popping up. Where basically it was just a bunch of people getting together, dancing around, and having sex and doing drugs, and giving their money to somebody. And it's basically in the '80s. There was a lot of these cults where people just got scammed out of their entire life savings, basically, you know. Then you've got political cults. You've got a big one that's popular. I actually almost got sucked into these guys a little bit. The LaRouche movement. You guys ever heard of what's his name? LaRouche.
Lyndon LaRouche.
Lyndon LaRouche. The guy's run for president.
Yeah, there were
like 40 times.
Almost guy, like, I see a guy with a sign about it. Apparently they support Trump.
Yeah, they do support Trump. I almost got sucked into the LaRouche thing. One day, I was walking home from work. I was walking to the train. I was working when I was still working in San Francisco. I was walking to the train, and there was a thing, like a stand on the corner, and it was all this stuff about the bankers. And so I got up there and I started talking to him, and I was still not quite red-pilled completely. I mean, I was red-pilled on the JQ and the banks, but I wasn't as red-pilled on race as I had needed to be at the time. Whatever. Like, I wasn't alt-right, per se, or whatever, but I was in my Adam Kokesh, dude, weed, government sucks thing. And I had heard and read about BRICS, was it Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I forgot what the S stands for. Some S country. I'm going to get reamed for not knowing this. Was it Spain?
I have no fucking idea.
El Salvador.
It wasn't El Salvador. Those Salvadorians. That's part of Russia. That's part of Russia. You guys are not helping. Anyways, so I sat there and I talked to these people for a while, and they seemed really, really up on, and on, like, the fact that the Federal Reserve is phony and all this other stuff, and that, the whole fiat currency is lent to us at interest and all that shit, and how blah, 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 but they never addressed the JQ ever. I went to one of their meetings, and I saw, as soon as like 10 minutes into it, I'm like, I'm not giving you guys fucking any money, and I left early. Like, where there was a break, and I got up and left, and they bombarded my phone with calls for like 2 months until I finally told them to fuck the fuck off.
Dude, the same thing happened to me. Like, I talked to the dude. I gave him like one of my throwaway emails though, and I just like stopped using it because I kept getting fucking LaRouche pack emails. Also, the country you're thinking of was South Africa.
South Africa. Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Before it went completely commie.
I thought it was South Korea, but then I just looked it up.
Mm-hmm. No, good, yeah, good. But they would be considered a political cult. And then, of course, you've got
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul. Leave Rob Powell alone. No, you got, Ayn Rand's followers would be considered a cult. Murray Rothbard.
Oh, Molly.
Those are objectivists, Johnny.
The group that followed Rand around was called the Collective, for Christ's sake. I mean, if that's not a cult, they called themselves something. Yeah. And then, of course, now they're the Ayn Rand. Now they're the Ayn Rand Institute. So, anyways. You've got other.
You say Molly used to kind of have a cult.
Molyneux?
Yeah.
Really?
That's what he basically was a cult leader.
He used to be like real bad about it. I don't know.
The whole like defoo your family.
Yeah, and that's one thing that cult leaders like to implement is separating you from your family.
Definitely.
Like isolation is a big thing.
Yeah.
And then he would just, Molly would separate you from your family and then just solicit donations over $1.
Molyneux's coming
separate
for
you from your family, and then they can gaslight you as much as they want.
True.
Yeah, it also forms the illusion that there's nobody that cares about you with the exception of the leader himself. He's the only one that's looking out for your best interests.
Right, that's a big thing with
Ooh,
them.
Charles Manson. He had a cult.
Oh, Charles Manson,
that
of
guy
course,
was
man.
good at leading cults.
He was really good at leading cults. I think Charles Manson deserves burn your house down, move to Belize, read Siege. I believe, is it not in that order actually? I believe that Charles Manson deserves at least a part of an episode dedicated to him, especially considering that he just died recently. Now you can press F.
True. You could do a whole episode on the Manson cult.
I think we might.
His life is really
Press
interesting.
H for Helter Skelter.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, so one thing I want to say is Heaven's Gate is considered a millenarian cult. And that's basically means containing 1,000, which means there's going to be like some major big transformation that's going to affect like society or the world as a whole. So you could even say like the Manson family with Helter Skelter, they were millenary. I can't pronounce it.
Millenarian.
Yeah, millenarian cult. Maybe even the Turner Diaries. Any kind of a lot of like sort of end times
turn of the
cults,
millennium,
doomsday cults.
Yeah, these niggas. It's like you can't have millenarian cults without millenarian cults without the Aryan. So,
Oh, that's a good point.
True.
Is it too late to join Heaven's Gate?
I think it might be.
Apparently,
you missed it. Your 10 years.
Apparently,
The gate's closed.
no. If you go on their website, like they like take a stand against suicide. Like there's an article on their website which looks like it's a fucking Geocity page.
well, that's
It
because
says, like-
Whoa! Geocity.
Go ahead.
Say it right. All right, it's GeoCities. Okay.
on.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Whatever, dude.
Well,
Grandpa.
No, it's GeoCities.
Well, they have that view on. They have the Heaven's Gate had the view on suicide that they did because they looked at it as though like they weren't committing suicide. It was suicide to stay here on Earth because the planet was about to be recycled. So that's how they Jewed their way around the whole suicide thing.
Well, let's save the Heaven's Gate stuff till we actually get to Heaven's Gate. Yeah. Let's get before we get to them. Yeah.
You gotta start.
We gotta begin at the beginning. Yeah, we gotta begin at the beginning. I mean, well, okay, so we got basically, you guys that are listening, we're gonna end up doing a series on cults as well. Since we've been doing a semi-series on serial killers, might as well do them on some other stuff that is not just necessarily spooky, but cults can be kind of spooky. Interesting for sure. Fucking freaky more than spoopy, I would say. How about that?
I think they're really interesting looks at human psychology.
Oh, definitely. So we've
Psychology.
gone into, a little bit of the doomsday cults, some of the political cults, the polygamist cults, like Church of Latter-day Saints will be considered a polygamous cult, LDS Church. Now
They
recently
stopped doing that, but,
they did, but I mean, whatever. As far back as the early 1900s. Well, they were still doing it.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah, and you said
Branch Davidians.
Branch Davidians. That's the one. The Branch Davidians did that as well. You got some terrorist cults. People, have
ISIS?
ISIS would be one. I would say Al Qaeda as well. And
what is it? Oh my god, I can't. The
whole
Taliban.
the Taliban. Well, that's the same. Yeah, it's all Al Qaeda, the Taliban, ISIS, and of course you
terrorist
have
cults, the
Mujahideen.
religion of Judaism.
the Mossad, yes, the Mossad, terrorism, yes, terrorists, terrorist cults. I guess Judaism would fall into that. I guess, but you've got them.
Mujahideen were really similar to the Taliban. They were in a different area in Afghanistan, but Anyway, never mind.
Well, you got the People's Mujahideen of Iran.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of the Afghan.
Which is where Bin Laden came out of the Mujahideen. But you've got, and of course racist cults. You've got, I don't know, Black Lives Matter with their big their big leader Sean King.
Ooh. The ADL and
the ADL
SPLC.
and the SPLC. Yeah, those are racist cults. I would say, yeah. Then you've got, I would say, another religious cult. I would even consider them as a religious cult, the Westboro Baptist Church, a little bit. With the
That's a good.
With the way that they persecute people that are really. I mean, yes. Yeah, hey, we don't like faggots either, but like, we're not going to go out and I know somebody whose son died. Now this happened a long time ago. Before this kid's death was one of the reasons why blood screenings for donations actually started happening in California, which they just did away with. So now faggots can HIV positive faggots can donate blood now in California. That's a whole other thing that just fucking. But a friend of mine's brother died
About Ryan White.
as a child. As a child, got a blood transfusion, and he died of AIDS from the blood transfusion. And his funeral was protested by basically the Westboro Baptist Church. So they're sometimes they protest the wrong things, and you don't protest.
They're also pro-race mixing.
Yeah, they're pro-race mixing, so fuck them anyway.
Well, every fucking Christian church is.
Is now it is, yeah. That's a whole other thing. All right, let's not do that. Let's not do that. All right. I'm gonna say that's it for racist cults. I've never really heard of another one. I mean, you've got social clubs. I mean, like, I wouldn't consider them a cult. Like, the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. Those are just social clubs.
Hammerskins are a nice social club.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wait, racist cults? Like every fucking normie liberal in the country is part of a social racist death cult. They're all anti-white death cult. Yeah, they want to chop off the hand that feeds them. So, like that,
and chop off their dicks,
and chop off your kid's dick.
Women.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, dude, the tranny thing is a cult. Tumblr.
Yep.
Tumblr is would you consider Tumblr the cult leader?
They congregate there. That's where they hang out.
That's their hangout.
Yeah, that's church. Tumblr is church.
Yeah. Church of the faggot and faggotry and Church of the LGBTQPIPAPPIQPAI and all the rest of the alphabet. What is? Yeah. All right. We're digressing. So that's cults.
Just call them faggots.
Don't join one. Don't do it. All right. So let's talk about. Let's talk about this Heaven's Gate group. They were a UFO religious millenarian group. They were based out of San Diego, California, which is a nice place to live. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful down there. The sun, it's 70-something degrees at all times. It hardly ever rains. It's a beautiful place to live. If you're going to go somewhere and do something like that, that's a good place to do it. You said that they were trying to reach a spacecraft, right? They were going to escape from this world. Following the comet Hale-Bopp. Yeah. See, they thought what they thought is that they were trying to reach a level above human, and that's literally what they called it. That's literally what they called it, a level above human. Yeah. And that the world was going to be recycled, and in the end, it just so happened that they were trying to catch a spacecraft that was at the tail of Hale-Bopp's comet. You are correct. That was their escape. Okay.
Kind of reminds me of Gnosticism.
Yeah?
Yeah, in terms of like trying to escape this material world that sucks and doesn't... It is kind of illusory, but, that's kind of where the similarities end.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, they were certainly like that. They didn't really own their own possessions. They all wore like the same outfit. They would wear very plain black shirts, black sweatpants, and sick Nike kicks.
Yeah,
they did.
yeah. All in
They
an
did
effort
have
to
those Nike
escape
kicks. Yeah.
That was all in an effort to try to escape the bonds of humanity. They didn't have sex or anything because these were all like human desires, and in order to transcend to that higher level, they had to like do away with their attachment to money, the attachment to family. It was
Well,
like,
what's the point
drop
of making-
everything.
What's the point of making a cult if you're not going to get laid?
Well,
Well, I mean,
yeah, this guy. Okay, so the guy who's founded this cult, Doe.
yeah, Doe, Marshall Herf Applewhite Jr.
Yeah, he wasn't he a quarterback for University of Texas? Went to the Cotton Bowl. No, that was Major Applewhite. I used to watch football. Actually, yes, not to be confused with the really great white quarterback from the University of Texas, Major Applewhite. This is Marshall Applewhite. He's a
Guess we had to start from the beginning with him.
Yeah, he's a Texas native. He is a very white man. Blue-eyed white dude. Went to college.
Son of a Presbyterian minister.
Son of a minister. He served in the United States Army. He went to college. He was a teacher.
He went to seminary after he got his bachelor's degree in philosophy in '52, but he quit shortly thereafter to pursue the career in music.
Oh, seminary, you mean, not cemetery. Cemetery is for dead
seminary.
people. Yeah.
Well,
he went to he ended up in a cemetery for sure. But he went to he was a music teacher, and didn't he get in trouble at the school he was at, whatever, for allegedly having a homosexual relationship with one of his students?
Yeah, when he was teaching at Alabama, he actually was he lost his job there because he was pursuing a sexual relationship with a male student.
Okay.
And at that time, he not only lost his job, his wife found out and they separated.
Yeah, usually that's what's going to happen. Back in the 60s, it wasn't so, you didn't have such open marriages like you do now. I mean, now it would be like, what's the matter? You don't want to let your husband, you don't want to let your husband fulfill all of his sexual fantasies. Wow, what's wrong with you, lady? But
yeah, fucking bigot. There's bigots everywhere.
Yeah, nowadays.
It's fine if he's gay.
Yeah, I mean, he's not gay. He just wants to have sex with a guy. It's not gay. You've never gotten a bro job? Anyway.
Oh, that's totally homosexual. Definitely homosexual. This guy was
definitely gay. Yeah. So he got booted out of University of Alabama. Well, go ahead, Larry.
He had two children too, and like I said, he was married. So he not only lost his wife, he did lose two children in the process. Now, I believe he maintained contact with them for a couple of years, but it was no parental contact, like usual parental contact. They just forgot about them. And you'd think that after this shit happened, in the time that it happened, you get caught having like faggot relationships like with your male students. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, this was back. This was like not today. This was before like
65. This is like 1965. Well, I mean, at one point, he was actually openly gay, but then he went back to girls, and he tried to date this chick, but her family was like, no, you're not dating this gay guy. So he went back and forth between being gay and straight. So I mean, he might have been the original first not gender fluid, but
androgynous.
Androgynous, whatever. Well, no, well, androgyny comes into this too because they had they were very much androgynous. Well, yeah. An incident
called the castrations.
Yeah, they're an androgynous. Well, they were like legit androgynous. Yeah, we'll get into that. Jesus Christ. That's so triggering about the castration.
But like I was saying, is that, like, I mean, you figure that what he just got caught doing would prevent him in, like, the moral society at the time from getting a job teaching
Anywhere.
again. But
Right.
anywhere.
But it didn't. He got another job teaching. And at the same time, he still practiced quote unquote Christianity. He was he was basically really into Christian doctrine. And that's how he met Bonnie Nettles. He met her in 1972. And go ahead.
Yeah, well, this was in Houston when he was teaching at the University of St. Thomas. And there his students, liked him. They thought he was an engaging speaker, and, of course, as a faggot, he was a stylish dresser.
Of course.
He was serving as the chair of the music department. It was a popular local scene.
Yeah, he was always known as, like, a very popular, funny, great speaker. Like, his sister even said, like, he was usually, like, the president of everything. He was always a born leader and very charismatic. He could get people to believe anything.
Yeah. Well, it helps. It helps when you set up a cult that you have to be believable. You have to be able to convince people to do stuff.
You have to be charismatic.
Charisma. You have to have rolled a natural 20 to be a really good cult leader.
Yeah, well, his whole stint at the university didn't last long because in 1970 he left, citing depression and other emotional problems, a problem that would plague him the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's true. And for the record, Scott would have gotten the natural 20 roll joke.
No, we got the joke.
We get
right?
it. We're just not nerds.
RPGs aren't real. Grow up.
Whoa! Says the two guys with the heavily abused Steam accounts. Shut up. All right. Adam, I was going to ask Adam how oh shit! What was the name of the game?
Follow me, baby.
Just blew yourself out.
No, I just blew myself out. It was vending machine maintenance.
Playing that Mario again?
No, it was vending machine.
RuneScape.
Vending machine. Remember that one? We made that. You don't remember that game?
Dude, the best one is Shower with Your Dad Simulator.
All right, we need to get back on track right now.
Google it.
All right, so guys, all right. He met Bonnie Nettles fucking 1972. As Johnny said.
Bonnie Nettles?
Bonnie Nettles.
Which yes.
It's fucked up. On a side note here, quick. Actually, never mind. So sorry. Yeah, Bonnie Nettles.
Yeah, she's
now,
another one.
With her?
Well,
she was a nurse.
She was a nurse. She was nobody really knows where they met. They
supposedly at a mental institute that he had checked himself into to try and get rid of his homosexual urges.
Huh.
Maybe that's where I should go to pick up chicks.
Yeah, but then I mean, if you then her, according to Terry Nettles, Bonnie's daughter, she said that they met at a drama school in a theater. So
that would make sense because he was a teacher and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole occult thing. She was interested in theosophy and biblical prophecy, and she thought that after she met him, that she had known him for a long time, and that they met in a past life.
According to Doe, he said in his writings, he was visiting a hospitalized friend when Ms. Nettles entered the room and their eyes locked in a shared recognition of esoteric secrets. Yeah, he writes like a fag too. So
honestly, I don't know why you're calling him Doe. That's like calling a trainee by their fucking fake name. Like
Applewhite.
Marshall or Applewhite.
His name's Applewhite. Yeah. He's going to be Applewhite for the rest of the show. So Applewhite said,
or Herf. He went by Herf as a kid.
Did he go by Herf?
Yeah,
that's
he also.
Yeah, Herf is his middle name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I guess like when they first met, Nettles did an astrological reading for Applewhite, and there was an alignment between their stars, and that explained, like why they just connected so deeply. He realized that she was somebody he had to be with, but not, sexually. Like he needed her. He was the speaker. She was the sage. She could read the cards, and he would speak what the cards would say or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually how it kind of went, because they played deeply on Christian theology and Christian mythology, and she knew like Bible verses front to back, and then he was there as like the smooth talking, shucking and jiving, huckster to try and convince you into the cult, and then she would have like on hand various Bible verses and different things she could mention, like from Christian theology that backs up his kind of tomfoolery.
Yeah, like she almost after meeting him, like almost immediately afterwards, like broke off contact with her family, and her husband divorced her, and she lost custody of all 3 of her kids, and like that was the end of it for her family. He had already been divorced, but Applewhite has his soulmate now, and she had power over him, and he had power over her, and like it was she was kind of like reinforcing his delusion, his
wow.
Yeah,
delusional,
right?
Probably bald too.
Yeah, well, he looked at her as though she was on like a higher spiritual plane, and later on he actually starts referring to her as like the Father, and he talks about how how they formed this thing, how he was they looked at him as like the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Well, later on he goes on to say that he didn't come alone; he came back with his father, who they called T, which was really Bonnie Nettles. So it was really like the religion of like cuckold. I mean, not cuckoldry. Like, I mean, kind of. You're like, for like putting that woman up on the pedestal. Like, she is the Father. Like, we're gonna worship, like the word of this woman because she is God. And I don't know, just.
Well, supposedly she was just a like a otherworldly force in her body. Like that's why she went by
they were
T.
walk-ins.
Yeah. And that's why Applewhite went by Doe, is Doe was the spirit that was in him, or Bo, or, whatever the fuck name he chose that week.
And that was a part of, like, the part of their, like, philosophy that tied in with the popular New Age shit in the 70s. Like, these New Age movements where, they talked about themselves as they were walk-ins. Like you just said, they were spirits that used the human form as just pretty much a vessel. I
believe they referred to their bodies as vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah, that they were just you were saying, Bradshaw? Sorry.
Oh, that's actually one argument they used when they were trying to get the people to exit their vehicles. They kind of compared it to that of a car. You're going to take this car, you're going to drive it for a while, it's going to get you places, it's a really nice car, but eventually you need to move up and buy a new car. And that's what exiting their vehicle was.
Yeah, so Johnny, you were saying that she was pretty much just encouraging this guy's delusions. And Susan Rain, someone who has done research on this, speculates that he was just having a schizophrenic episode that she just, encouraged, and then just kind of hopped on, and they went with it from there.
A charismatic schizo. Now that's a dangerous combination.
Yeah. I mean, it's further evidence the fact that this guy was a fag. He was living with this chick, and they were living together, but their relationship wasn't sexual. And I think Johnny said about this before. They were trying to escape like the bonds of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And but they had concluded after they, got together that they had been chosen to fulfill biblical prophecies and had higher level minds than other people. And described Jesus' reincarnation as a Texan, a thinly, talking about fucking Marshall Applewhite.
Obviously.
What is the deal with, like, people call... I mean, I get it, but you really got to be up your own ass to call yourself, like, Christ.
Yeah, these people from Texas, dude. Like, I mean, the Jesus reincarnates, David Koresh, and what is it with all these Texan Jesuses? Like,
turning water into Coors Light and all that.
Now we got these Jesuses. There's just all these Jesuses in Texas. So
Right, it's a little different now.
Yeah.
So okay, so they hooked up, started their cult out, started pushing their little group around.
Yeah, they would go to like churches and spiritual groups and stuff to talk about themselves, and they called themselves the Two or the UFO Two, and said that they were the two witnesses described in the Book of Revelation, which is a good book, by the way. You should read it. But they weren't taken terribly seriously.
Yeah, no, nobody really took him serious. He got so
they said
okay,
that
so
I'll go because it's important. What they told people was that they would be they could be killed or they die or something like that. They would be resurrected. More Christ parallel there. But what is different is that they would then be transported onto a spaceship.
in the demonstration.
Yeah, they called it a demonstration. And then the people demonstrated the exit door to them. They weren't very receptive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're basically like walking into a church. That's blasphemy. In the church, right to the the congregation.
That's pretty
I can't
ballsy,
imagine
honestly.
Why would these people not want us around? This is fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't get that myself. He
So they kept that up for a while.
They did. Well, this is in 74 that they started doing that. He got arrested. Applewhite got arrested in 74. And he got put in jail for 6 months for failure to return a rental car. I guess.
Dude, it's the best what he said. What?
He said he was divinely authorized to keep the car.
he also at the same time he got hit with credit card fraud, and that's how they found out that he had a warrant for his arrest in St. Louis for taking that fucking car.
Right.
Because he was when he had his first member, I cannot recall her name off the top of my head. The two decided, we don't have any money. We're going to use your credit card.
Mm-hmm.
So they started using their first member's credit card so they could fund their whole operation.
Right. Yeah. So he got out of so he gets out of jail after 6 months. Well, while he was in jail, of course, he studied theology and extraterrestrials and evolution and all these other things that kind of went along with what we're going to find out in his cult. When he got out, they started recruiting again. They were publishing advertisements for all their meetings, and they would recruit what they called their crew, their disciples or whatever. So what they would say is that they were representing beings from another planet called the Next Level. So that's literally what the other planet was called, was the Next Level. That doesn't take a whole lot of imagination. They didn't put a whole lot of work into that.
Very creative.
It wasn't very creative at all. He called himself a lab instructor. I know that when you listen to some of these his YouTube videos or whatever where he's talking, he said that there were classes. People were taking classes, and he was teaching them these classes. But he, as the lab instructor, he would refer to himself and Nettles as guinea and pig. So, yep. He would get up there as the lab instructor, and he would do most of the speaking, and then Nettles would jump in with clarifying points or whatever. And their first incarnation of the cult was called the Anonymous Sexaholics Celibate Church. The Anonymous Sexaholics Celibate Church. But it didn't go over so well. It's kind of a mouthful, so they changed it to the Human Individual Metamorphosis.
That's still a bit of a mouthful.
It's still a bit of a word salad. Yeah, dude, that's a lot. It doesn't flow off the tongue very well. He was, like I said, he was reading about extraterrestrials and stuff in jail. He really got into the ancient astronaut hypothesis, which, everybody's seen Ancient Aliens at least, or heard of the Ancient Aliens theories. Right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
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 Where some guy with very strange hair.
Well, not just Giorgio Tsoukalos and Richard Childress and those guys on the show, but the theory itself is that aliens at one point in ancient history has visited this planet and either placed humans here or evolved humans here, like Dr. Lloyd Pye's version of evolution, the third way, which is that aliens came here and gave some of their DNA to the hominids that were already evolving on this planet and turned them into humans. There's that, but he was really into that. So
it doesn't sound that far-fetched.
No, it really doesn't. No, Dr. Pye, I've listened to a lot of Dr. Lloyd Pye's stuff and read his stuff. He's the guy with the Star Child skull stuff from Peru, the elongated skulls. You guys heard of him?
Indeed.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So what's going to happen is these ancient aliens are eventually going to come back and collect some of these, the chosen few or whatever. It's kind of
that's what Applewhite said happened to Jesus Christ. Is when he rose, he rose in a UFO. They basically abducted Jesus.
Well, yeah. Right. Is that meme where Jesus is he's like, I'm getting abducted by aliens, you motherfuckers, get me down from here. But but no, that whole concept is kind of like the Reformed Christian concept of election, which is kind of comes out of the Presbyterian the church. It's similar to rapture, but like singular rapturing. Another thing that he was really into, apparently, I guess they got television in jail because he watched a lot of Star Trek. Maybe he watched it when he got out, maybe he got into it. But yeah, he said that these extraterrestrials that were from the next level were communicating with him through the show, through Star Trek.
Which is fucking insane, dude. That is insane.
No, he actually would watch. That was one of the few activities, worldly activities that his followers could engage in, was watching episodes of Star Trek and the X-Files.
Oh, that's right. They could watch X-Files too. Yeah.
Yeah, they would all. He would watch it with them, with his students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to know, was he a next gen or was he an original Star Trek guy? I don't know.
He strikes me as an original Star Trek kind of guy.
Well, this is old. Yeah, this is in the 70s. I guess they were allowed to watch Star Trek. He watched Star Trek, and I guess so 70s Star Trek, 80s Star Trek, yeah. So they were still in Texas at this time, right? When they were doing all this, in Texas still? Then they went to California?
Yeah.
They were all over the place.
Well, yeah, they couldn't really settle down because they didn't have a whole lot of money. A lot of times they camped out in tents, or they'd stay at a hotel and then just bounce without paying the bill. That happened a lot.
Well, they were also
paranoid. I think this goes back. Yeah, they thought the government was going to kill him, but I think this actually goes back, if you want to kind of use some psychology on Marshall Applewhite. His father was a Presbyterian minister who traveled a lot, so he never really settled down in any one place in his youth. And even when he got older, he got drafted and he went all over the place. He went where was it in Europe that he went to?
He was in Australia, I know that.
No, Austria. He went to Austria, and then he got stationed in New Mexico. And so he never had a place to call home. So that's why I think that came back with the cult he was leading, is they never really settled down. Like, there was points where they were sleeping in public parks in sleeping bags.
Right.
Well, you guys forgot to mention they in 1975 they went to a hotel in Oregon. I think it was in Walport, and they sold all their worldly possessions and that stuff and said their goodbyes and then just frickin' vanished. And that's when they went on their underground cross-country tour, sleeping in tents and sleeping bags.
Okay.
Yeah, the CBS Evening News, Walter Cronkite actually first broke that story. That was one of the first instances of a national report on Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, they'd gotten some local coverage because they had got about 50 people to follow them from this one meeting in California, and a few more people. They went to Kenyatta College in California, and they got another 30 people out of Oregon. So they had like 80 people following them around. They had like local media coverage. But yeah, the CBS News with Cronkite was the first major thing, and that's big when you get put on, the CBS Evening News. That was back then. That was like the big news show. You made it to the big time at that point. That was when they were calling themselves Bo and Peep, though. That was in the 70s, and they kind of thought of themselves as shepherds tending to a flock. Yeah,
more parallels to Christianity. The whole shepherd thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was okay. So now we got these guys. We got their little backstory. These two crazy weirdos that they apparently read a lot of the same shit that we do. They read a lot of Theosophy, Madame Blavatsky's stuff. They were into Ancient Aliens, which I've been a big reader and follower of that kind of stuff. They read a lot about a lot of esoteric stuff, which we do around here too. So I mean, hey, you never know what kind of freaks you're going to end up hanging out with. But you guys want to take a break and then come back and talk about the actual cult itself?
Yeah, sounds good.
Let's do that. What's the name of that Zurius song you were talking about earlier, Brad? Let's do that one this week.
Oh, his newest song, I think what did he release it like 6 days ago or something?
Yeah. What's it called?
It's called Memories of Tomorrow.
All right. We're going to listen to Zurius Memories of Tomorrow, and we'll be back. All right, everybody, we're back. This is still the Paranormies present the Ahnenerbe Hour. I'm still Johnny Monoxide alongside Adam Haidt, Bradshaw Wilson, and Larry Ridgeway. We're talking about Heaven's Gate and Tea and Dough. But before that, let's take care of some business. All right, we got a donation this week. We got 1488. From, the little note says, from Lupus, loved the Titanic episode, guys. Really activated my almonds. I had never heard anything about it. Looking forward to hearing what you guys put out next. Maybe something on astral projection and near-death experiences. Best wishes, Lupus. Thanks, Lupus.
Well, thanks, Lupus. As a matter of fact, we have talked about near-death experiences.
We did.
Not astral projection, though.
No, we haven't done astral projection yet. We've had a couple of guys people ask for that. I would really like to get. I want to do astral projection and remote viewing, and I want to get Jason Resna Giorgiani on when he's done reviewing whatever pizza he's eating this week.
Yeah, speaking of
it's the one with the hot dogs in the crust.
Jesus. Speaking of near-death experiences, that's a really good episode. That's a really important topic, and you should definitely go listen to that one. And we cite a website in there. It's like neardeath.org or something like that. Go check it out. It's important.
We got a couple of emails. Oh, yes. Thank you for the donation. And you guys can donate to the show at paranormiespresent@gmail.com and at our Patreon, which is Johnny Monoxide is creating the Paranormies Present. If you like what you hear, we're not behind the paywall. So, donate to the guys. Anyways, we got some emails. One from... Okay, I'm not going to dox him. Hey, guys. I worked in the nuclear field for 6 years before moving into chemicals. My degree is nuclear engineering. I got interested in the nuke hoax theories after studying the failures of the nuclear energy in business school. Anyway, I'm read up on the subject and would love to open a dialogue or consult with you guys on any of the topics. I can help you tie the whole thing into Lookout Mountain Labs, Jews fleeing Eastern Europe in the 20s and the 30s, the moon landing hoax, Roosevelt possibly having syphilis versus polio, Jews and vaccines, the Demona disclosure of Vietnam, Korea. These seem like unrelated topics, but there is a common theme. Also, if you were to do such a show, the re-revisionist Ray West would be the perfect guest. And there is his website. Merry Christmas, guys. All right. Right on, man.
Really cool.
Yeah, I really want to get into the nuke hoax. I go back and forth on whether or not nuke's real or not. That's a whole...
We've made a really... Go ahead.
I was actually just going to say, after listening to Weave talk about him over and over again, he makes good points on the subject.
Oh, the most important point is that even if nuclear weapons are real, they're not very scary, actually, because Hiroshima and Nagasaki are flourishing today in Japan, while Detroit is, a hellscape. So niggers are objectively worse than nukes.
Agreed.
Well, I personally think they're real because I believe that the Samson option is real. And if that, Israel ever fell, that they would just start slinging nukes every which way.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Samson option is the nukes thing. You kind of have to believe in nukes for the Samson option to be real.
You also have to believe Jews to believe the Samson option is real.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Jews would do it. They absolutely would do it.
They also would lie about it to have that psychological one over your head.
Oh yeah.
Tricky people, dude. Tricky people.
Oh yeah.
Implying are people.
Implying.
They're Luciferians.
Got another one here. It says, "Nigga, Tupac ain't dead. I seen him. Y'all better get on this." All right, we will.
He seen him?
Yeah, he's still alive in Serbia.
He seen a spook?
He seen a spook named Tupac. Yeah. And the last email for the week. Johnny, have you seen the latest story on Sandy Hook? Basically, thought police bill for anything that may be taken out of context. Kevin Pandemonium. P.S. Love the show. Y'all get better every episode. Love listening to old shows on a YouTube playlist I made. The thought police bill. Yeah. On the Sandy Hook. And guys, we did come up on a milestone here in history. It's the 5th anniversary of the Sandy Hook thing. So let's take a moment to read all the names of those who died at Sandy Hook. All right, and we're done. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, that's you like that? I've been saving that one. Yeah, we're probably gonna get. What do you bet? What do you bet they show up in the comments, Adam? The IDF.
This one's kind of deep in the recording. Someone's gonna have to mention it in the comments. Once someone in the comments mention it, then they'll come.
All right. They'll descend on it like those. What were those things in the Matrix? The little alien thingies with all the fucking grabby feets and whatever. I don't know. Anyways, that's how they are. They just show up whenever you mention that thing that may or may not didn't happen. The hoax. Yes, the hoax. I don't want to beat around the bush. Yeah, the hoax. But it's the 5th year anniversary of it, and they drugged it. They drug it out again on the news, and oh, my children. Yeah, okay. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get back into Heaven's Gate with our friends T and Do. Applewhite and Nettles, those two freaks who were running around trying to tell people about this UFO cult that they had started. They were
running around in their sick Nikes.
Yeah. Ooh, Brad, are you hooked up to an electric chair or something?
No.
All right, because that last one, you just like buzzed like a motherfucker.
I heard it too.
Yeah. Are there spooks?
Right. So
internet?
where did we leave off?
We had left off with let me see. They had done the CBS.
Oh, she had her eye removed.
No, we didn't do that. Let's talk about that. Go ahead.
Oh, right. Okay. So yeah, 1983. She had a cancer. Bonnie Nettles had some kind of cancer. Then she ended up in 1983 getting an eye surgically removed. I guess in order to treat it. It didn't work too good because she lived for 2 more years and died in 1985. Which actually, given 1980s cancer medicine, that's pretty good. So. Now, Applewhite has a problem because what he had been telling all his followers up to that point was that that they would be making a physical translocation. They would be ascending physically. Their bodies would ascend to the next level. And now Bonnie Nettles is a corpse, and her corpse is not gone anywhere. So he's got a dilemma. And so he said that, okay, here's what happened. He says, she had so much energy, so much power that she traveled to the next level. Like her spirit just left the body. She was like ready to go. She didn't need her body to be transported. Her spirit was powerful enough that she could just transcend to the next level. Which it kind of funny. It kind of reminds me of Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who totally different cult that we should get into at some point because those guys are hilarious. But they were another cult that had all of these really aesthetic principles and rules enforced, and Elizabeth Clare Prophet, the leader, she got caught eating chocolate, which was prohibited. A janitor found her eating chocolate. And when she told the guy, who was like, what the hell, you said we're not supposed to do this stuff. So she said, oh, well, you see what it is I'm just so holy that if I don't sin a little bit, I would just fade away. My spirit would just fade out of this physical realm.
Nice save.
Yeah. Anyway, different cult. Well, I thought it was funny.
Well, yeah, they were worried about after she died, they were worried about some followers leaving and whatnot. But he managed to get all of them to stay.
Because he's just that good of a smooth talker.
Yeah, he
but it wasn't easy. He was really depressed about it.
Yeah, he was.
No, after she died, then he symbolically married the remaining members of the cult.
Now that's interesting because it's pretty well known in psychology that a traumatic experience is one of the fastest and most effective ways to make people bond. Mm-hmm. Like, you and a buddy get lost in the woods for a week or something like that, and you're in a life and death situation. Like, you're going to be bros for life if you make it out of there.
If you don't bareback mountain it, yeah.
Well,
broke back, oosh, Freudian.
Wow. Anyway, you get the point I was making. Like he experienced this very traumatic loss, and he used that to they all experienced this loss, and he used that as a way to bring them even closer together. Mm-hmm. It seems like it worked too.
Exerting control.
Oh yeah.
They're like these other people's sympathies, so they hold this this basically meaningless ceremony all to make one person feel better. So they're doing that, but it's also, at the same time doing what you said, you know what I mean? Just like exerting all that control over these fucking people.
How does that saying go? Never let a good tragedy go to waste.
Yeah, I believe that
Something
was
like that.
Was that
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah, it's a neocon thing.
Oh God.
Of course.
I don't remember exactly who said it, but yeah, it's a neocon thing. I think Dick Cheney said it before. Anyways, so we have Nettles dies, and now Applewhite is in charge by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting lag? Am I getting lag again?
No, you're not.
Okay, you're just interrupting me. Gotcha. No. So now you've got Applewhite by himself. He had to kind of revise the doctrines a little bit because now we have one of his things with the whole thing about the body. They had to change it. I can't imagine being a cult member and seeing Nettles' death and being like, well, wait a minute, you guys said that this wasn't supposed to happen, and then he actually comes out, he's like, well, actually, this is what's really going on, and this is the new way that's going on. I mean, they lost people because of this. People left.
Yeah, but I think that only one person left, to be honest. I had read somewhere.
Yeah.
He actually did a pretty good job of damage control here.
Yeah, he told him that Nettles, she was able to transcend because she was more spiritually learned and more advanced than he was, and that he still had a long way to go.
Yeah, this is the part where he actually started referring to her as the father, and talking to her as he and the male pronouns and whatnot when referring to her. He was the Jesus Christ figure to a god, he was the son of the father.
Yeah, she was the father, he was the son, right? They had some pretty interesting recruits. They had a guy who was running for the Colorado House of Representatives, John Craig. He joined in 1975 and left. Actually, I saw there's more than one person has left the cult. I mean, I've seen videos with different members that have left. Yeah, those people are still pretty fucking weird.
Oh yeah, they left the cult, but they still believe the same exact bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did. That one interview, Bradshaw, that guy, he's like, they died, and he was bummed out that he didn't die with them.
Yeah. There was actually since the initial suicide, there were actually 2 former members who committed suicide to try and join them. One was successful. Another one failed his first attempt, and he ended up speaking to, I can't remember who wrote the book. Someone wrote a book on this, and he spoke to him, and then the guy wanted to contact him again, and dead.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so two former members killed themselves after the initial event.
Wow, that's absolutely crazy. So now that he's by himself, Applewhite he seems to have gotten a little crazier. He's gone a little further. He even had himself castrated.
Yeah.
And
he encouraged other members to be castrated too. I can't
right.
remember how
many who did it.
A bunch of them did do it. Yeah.
We were about to get into, since Applewhite gained control, is when he starts he goes off a little bit and changes a few things. Starts talking about how Jesus was an extraterrestrial. He may have believed that before, but this is where he starts emphasizing that he was killed and bodily rose from the dead before being transported onto a spaceship.
Yeah, back to where heaven is, which is another planet.
Yeah, Jesus was a gateway to heaven, but to the next level. Every 2,000 years.
They couch everything in these weird New Age terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you almost have to spend time defining the terms in which these faggots are talking about shit.
Well, they did spend a lot of time watching Star Trek, so...
This is interesting. This is kind of similar to the LDS, the real high-level esoteric LDS stuff where... God lives on a planet outside of Kolob. Kolob is the nearest star to where he lives, and that he actually sent all these spirits to Earth to cause evolution, because that's what they also talked about, that they would, after they reach the next level of their human, I guess they would be transcending their humanity. They would go to other planets to facilitate evolution there, and that's basically like, you know, the whole point of Mormonism is to like become a god yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much he read from LDS like theology.
I don't know. Seems like quite a bit. They borrowed heavily from a lot of it. With, like you said, like with the planet Kolob and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the kind of lame thing about this. It's very syncretic. Like they didn't develop a whole lot of their own ideas.
Yeah.
Oh shit, guys! Listen to this. Uh-oh.
What?
This guy's a Shabos guy. In the
what do you
wake
mean?
of Nettles' death, Applewhite became increasingly paranoid, fearing a conspiracy against his group. One member who joined in the mid-1980s recalled that Applewhite avoided new converts worrying they were infiltrated. He feared a government raid on their home and spoke highly of the Jewish defenders of Masada in ancient Israel. Well, fuck, never mind, he's talking about ancient Jews. Never mind, not a Shabbos guy.
Well, we all know that, you know, the ancient Israelites aren't Jews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's listen now. We said this guy was crazy, right? So yeah, let's see what's this. Let's hear what this guy's got to say. Let me see. Hold on one.
So this isn't a recording of him, right?
Yeah, we're gonna listen to Applewhite here. He's gonna talk about
really?
Some of his beliefs here. So hang on one second.
Thing on the minds
This isn't the coding
of those who will connect with us. We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us. Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us. Now, that's pretty major statement, pretty bold in terms of religion, in terms of anybody's intelligent thinking. To most people who would consider themselves intelligent beings, that say, well, that's absurd. What's all this doomsday stuff? But
yeah, that's what most intelligent people would say, that this is absurd doomsday stuff.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy. This Applewhite. He like we said earlier. They were into the ascetic a lifestyle. They were very the women were dressed very androgynously. The guys were none of them were allowed to have sex. And it was 8 members, including Applewhite, went to Mexico and were castrated. So
ridiculous.
Yeah,
like that is this guy is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess not anymore, but
well, no, yeah, there were no nuts.
Not after he went to Mexico,
right? They gave up all their material possessions. Other than those sweet Nike kicks that they all wore. And like he said there, he was talking about evacuating the Earth because the Earth was about to be recycled, meaning that, I don't know, that some sort of a rapture was coming, and that the Earth was going to be transformed. He thought that they were going to leave the Earth on a spaceship, a Tela, T-E-L-A-H spacecraft, and. Is somebody echoing? I hear myself talking. No. I don't know. Weird. This is a really weird episode. There's all kinds of weird shit going on. They would leave the Earth on a spaceship and be transferred to the what do they call it again? The next level.
The evolutionary level above human. I think that's what T-E-L-A-H.
The evolutionary level above human. That's what it is. Oh yeah, that is what T-E-L-A-H. There you go. The next level above human, elevated level above human spacecraft. So that's another thing that seems to be ripped off from Mormonism, because you know how God flew to Earth from planet Kolob and impregnated Mary, and then flew back to Kolob.
That kind of ties in how they thought they could get up on a spaceship and ascend to that next level. This is at the time where he's emphasizing that there's a chance to get Jesus was going to come down and save everyone and get them up there, but he deemed humanity unworthy of that. So there's an opportunity to get there on a spaceship every 2,000 years. So, and the Hale-Bopp comet just happens to be, comes around every 2,000 years. So I think
roughly, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Not only do they believe that the evolutionary level above human was in outer space, but these guys also believed that evil space aliens, were here on Earth. And they called them Luciferians, and they had represented themselves to Earthlings as God, and they basically conspired to keep us at the evolutionary level that we're at now, which is
what is their motivation? That's what kind of pissed me off about these like shit tier weirdo new age cults is like what is the motivation of these other forces? I don't know. It's just like, these are the asshole demons who are just mean for no reason.
Yeah, there's really no two ways about it. There's no other side to the story. It's all what this guy says. So I mean, and you hear it from nowhere else. So I mean, this is really just a fucking story that's made up in this guy's head. It's absolutely insane that nobody can see this stuff.
Well, he was a really good salesperson, apparently.
And you target specific people, the specific psychological types that are susceptible to these kind of things.
Oh yeah,
and he knew how to find those people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Speaking of Luciferians, he thought that most humans had been brainwashed by Lucifer himself, and that his followers were the only ones that could break free of this control.
Right. That makes sense. Because he had the key to to get to Tila, and nobody else really did. Listening to these interviews with these people, and Larry, you just said that these people believe that humans were brainwashed by Lucifer himself.
Yes. Yeah, but he also thought that, oddly enough, that many prominent moral teachers and advocates of political correctness were also Luciferians. So, preachers, pastors, this dude's whole life was based around, vilifying everybody else.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point to make.
Well, yeah, you have to break down. You have to break down. Yeah, to break the conditioning, and you have to break people's belief systems down in order to get them to believe this ridiculously crazy belief. I mean that a lot of religions, they believe that material possessions are not important, so that it's what's in heaven, is that what is more important. But Applewhite had these people believing that in order to even be eligible to get to the next level, you would have to shed every single attachment to this planet. I mean, everything, all your human-like characteristics whatsoever, your family, your friends, your individuality, your job, your money, all your possessions, and your sexuality, which, there you go, you castrate them. Other than those sweet Nike kicks. I can't believe that they would still wear.
They only got them because they were on sale.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, they were the cheapest shoes. They were on sale.
Oh God.
Wait, I thought that was that was speculation. Is that the truth?
I don't know. That it could be speculation, but that's what I've heard.
Oh.
Well, I mean, okay, so you have the evolutionary level above human, which to these people was an actual physical place, another world, another planet, such as Kolob, where you're going to go and live forever and ever and ever, absorbing pure sunlight. You don't need food, you don't need water. You're just going to absorb the sunlight from the universe, and that's how you're going to live. You don't have sex, there's no eating, there's no dying, none of these mammalian traits that you have here on Earth. And actually, you'll be there with God, and God is actually another extraterrestrial being. It is borrowed, like you said, Adam. It borrows heavily. It's syncretic to the LDS people, the Mormons. But Nettles and Applewhite actually.
you can have sex in the next level in Mormonism. Like that's kind of part of the point.
Right. I mean, well, I'm saying they didn't borrow completely, but they took a lot from it, obviously. And like I was saying, is Applewhite he had his people believing that he and Nettles themselves were extraterrestrial beings. So, they actually came up with this concept called a walk-in. It's basically similar to the concept of being possessed, or like we were talking about last week in Voodoo, being mounted by the gods. You basically vacate your soul and allow the entity in. So that's basically what Applewhite and Nettles had told them, that their bodies, were walk-ins. Their being was from another planet, but their body was from Earth.
And their sole purpose was to take control of these bodies and teach humanity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
so they're like,
that was the thing, is everything they did was a class. They were teachers. They were, they went to school for, what was it? What did he say? 22 years. It was like 22 years of classes.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Before this, yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was in one of the videos where this nut job was talking about it. And then before these people died, yes. Well, before they didn't. Now they didn't die. They said they ascended to enter the next level. They they had set up. Do you guys want to do this now, or like what do you want to do?
Well, I think as we're kind of coming up towards the climactic end of the cult.
But there's
by the 90s, they really started ramping up their internet recruitment, which they had a sort of a cyber culture, which was unique at the time, or at least fairly unique, relatively to other cults that have been forming up to that point. Where they recruit people on the internet, they would host a lot of stuff on the internet, and they would get income through this business called Higher Source, and they would do various sort of tech related jobs in order to get income for the things that they were doing.
Yeah. Well, they had to come up with money to live. Even though they did live very ascetically, you had to have you had to live. They ended up food. Yeah, you had to have food and and those sweet Nikes.
They also listen to also how they're like spending money and shit too. So in the early 90s, their membership dwindled, and before they got into like the internet and whatnot, there was like 26 of them. Applewhite spent $30,000 and took the name Total Overcomers Anonymous and published a full-page advertisement in the USA Today that warned of catastrophic judgment to befall the Earth. And then 20 of the former members came back, so now there's like 46 people.
They picked up how many members because of that? Hold on, they picked up how many members?
They got 20 of their former members rejoined the group after that.
Jesus.
That's interesting.
Yeah, dude. So...
yeah, that's how good of a salesman he was. People. Yeah, they only had 46 people, but only 38 of them ended up in the mansion, in the house in Rancho Santa Fe, San Diego County, San Diego, California.
The monastery.
Yeah, it was. They rented. Now they had to have money, so this house cost them about $7,000 a month. It was a 9,200 square foot mansion. That's a big house. Oh yeah, before they rented the house, this is a good one. We seem to always come up with these these people with these insurance scams and stuff, and these things like there was the Titanic conspiracy with the insurance, 9/11 with the insurance. Here in October '96, the group purchased alien abduction insurance.
It was pricey too.
Yeah, it would cover up to 50 members, and it would pay out $1 million per person. It was a $50 million policy that covered. Now, if you're going to cover alien stuff, you got to cover all the bases, right? So you got to cover abduction, death, and impregnation by aliens. So if one of them were impregnated by an alien, and you got to cover the probing. You got to cover the probing and the abduction. So I wonder. I don't know who exactly they left as the benefactor to the insurance. That would be interesting to find out. Did anybody find that in your reading, who the benefactor for the insurance was? Anybody?
I did not.
No.
Okay. Interesting.
I didn't even see that. That's interesting, dude.
Yeah. So you have 39 people, who have just taken out this insurance, and they're all ready to go. They are all ready to go to the next level. And
Yeah.
Just do it.
They started spreading the rumors about the comet online after they sort of moved into their online sort of thing, and so they're ready to go to the next level. So how do you get there? Well, there's a couple ways. You can natural death, an accidental death, or like a random violent death. So basically, like something outside of your control, it causes you to die, and your soul sort of graduates into the next level perfect body after it leaves the human container. And there's there's random violence death. There's also outside persecution. So they Applewhite saw what happened to the Branch Davidians in Waco, and he saw what happened at Ruby Ridge, and he became paranoid that the American government was going to try and stop Heaven's Gate. So that's another way, is if you're martyred, pretty much. You could be physically picked up in the spacecraft, like they could fly down next to you and pick you up, or use the tractor beam to abduct you. Well, it's not an abduction there because you're consenting, but sort of a rapture version where you're not, like, your body doesn't die, but you still get to go to the next level. Or you could willfully exit from your body in a dignified manner. So how does one willfully exit from the body?
Well, I'm going to say...
they record a video first talking about the final exit. They talk about that on their videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They do. They talk about that. You record a video.
A clip, don't you?
I do have a clip. I have a clip about how this works, and let's check out the clip. This is one of these guys. He goes by R Cody or Ricody, or I don't know, RKK Cody. Let's check out his exit video here.
KKK.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ricody, and by the time that you see this tape, I'll be gone. I'll be leaving this vehicle, and they will probably find this vehicle in a motel somewhere, and I'm going to be leaving in much the same way that my classmates and my older member left. I'm not...
Now, real quick, see, he'll be leaving in the same way that his classmates and his older member left. So what had happened was... Now, wait. What had happened was they had committed suicide. The group had together taken... phenobarbital, which is, drugs, and they mixed it with applesauce and they washed it down with vodka. So then they would put plastic bags around their heads, which would assist you because you're going to asphyxiate yourself by putting the plastic bag over your head. What happened was some of them died, the first day. Some of them died a couple of days later, and then the rest of them died afterwards. It took them like 3 or 4 days for everybody to die. So what he's talking about is people have already gone before him. So he is in the second group of people to die, apparently. So let's
took place over a number.
Yeah, let's
I can only imagine what that fucking house smelled like.
Let's listen to Rick.
He's recording that video, just smelling death.
Yeah, let's let Ricody finish this up, and check this out.
Dying. I'm not going to be dead. I am simply leaving this vehicle. I know that's going to be hard for people to take. I know that with the response that people have had from my older members and my classmates leaving, I've been acutely aware of how the world has responded to that. All they see is their vehicles laying around without life in them, and they immediately jump to the conclusion that these individuals are dead. They are not dead any more than a caterpillar is dead when it goes into a chrysalis and changes into a butterfly. There is substance to souls and substance to the mind that is in these vehicles. And that substance doesn't go away because the vehicle is dropped off. Unfortunately, it's about the only way that we can get out of these vehicles is to kill them off. We can't just leave without the vehicle expiring. It cannot live without a life force in it. And so when we take our life force away from the vehicle is considered dead. Please don't look at my older member, don't look at my classmates, and don't look at me as having died. We have not died. We have simply moved out of these vehicles.
Alrighty then. Moved out of these vehicles. You kept using the word vehicle. Your body is the vehicle, is the vessel that your life spirit is inside of. Yeah. All right. So yeah.
Caterpillars, dude. We was caterpillars.
Right. So
beautiful butterfly.
I'm a butterfly.
So the 39 of them were they're all dressed identically, black shirts, sweatpants, brand new black and white, those sweet Nikes. The Nike Decade.
Just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's really something great to say to somebody who's about to commit suicide. Is just do it.
That's right. They had
procrastinator.
Yeah, they had armbands that said Heaven's Gate Away Team. Now, if you guys know anything about Star Trek, the landing teams were always known as the away team. So okay. They took the phenobarbital with the applesauce, and which is funny because his name was Applewhite, and the vodka, and put plastic bags over their heads. Started dying. 15 of them died on March 24th, 15 more on March 25th, and 9 on the 26th. Applewhite was the third to last member to die, and 2 women remained after him. They died, but they were the only 2 that were found without plastic bags over their heads. Now, one of the people who died, speaking of Star Trek, the guy's name was Thomas Nichols. Anybody who's watched the old Star Treks knows who Nichelle Nichols is, who is best known for her role as Lieutenant Uhura in the original Star Trek television series. So, there's another Trek tie-in. That's very interesting. One of the group members did not kill themselves. His name was Richard Ford, but he went by Rio D'Angelo. He recorded the entire thing, but didn't show. I guess he escaped or whatever. Didn't show the tape to the cops until 2002. Interesting.
Was he a commercial director or something?
I don't know. He's a fucking weirdo. That's for sure. But now the guy Hale-Bopp, the comet Hale-Bopp, the Dr. Hale, who was the the guy the comet's named for. He was a co-discoverer, obviously. He was drawn into this because of the tie-in to the comet, and he said in '98, he said actually he said before Heaven's Gate, well before Heaven's Gate, he said, we're probably going to have some suicides as a result of this comet. The sad part is that I was really not surprised. Comets are lovely objects, but they don't have apocalyptic significance. We must use our minds and our reason. Interesting that he said that. But and afterwards he discussed. I don't know what did he know? Afterwards he discussed the scientific significance, of comets and whatever, and he gave the account of the story, and then he kind of blasted scientific illiteracy, these willful delusions of these people. These people who imagine a spacecraft following the comet. He basically blasted the Heaven's Gate cult for the for the suicide, because they had
being retards.
Well, yeah, basically blasted them for being retards. Yeah. Interesting that he.
If only he was there before they committed suicide and just went up to Applewhite and just said, "Wow, you're delusional."
I don't know. Immediate mental health help.
That's right. Take 2 reality pills and call me in the morning. Man, I can't imagine what it would be like.
That's hardcore.
It really, really is. And these people, they're still talked about today. There's a show called Heaven's Gate. It's a podcast that talks about the mysteries inside Heaven's Gate. They talk about the weird stuff that went on there. Talk about the programming, the choices they made, and these people, it's really interesting.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of the programming, the programming was so strong that there are people that left the cult that actually feel bad that they didn't die with their friends.
Oh yeah,
that speak about it's just mind blowing. Like I watched an interview with this guy who left the group, and he was saying how he missed everybody, but he understood.
You know what? One of my favorite stories is actually two members. What are they? Yvonne and Stephen Hill. They were they were a black couple from Ohio, and they left behind good middle class jobs and 5 kids to go join the cult. And they were all completely on board. Applewhite was telling me, all right, we're going to live this very Spartan lifestyle. We're going to have no possessions. We're going to reach enlightenment that way. And they're like, okay. And then, we're going to die. We're going to leave humanity behind and exit our vehicles. And they were like, all right, cool. And we're not going to have sex. The fuck?
Shit.
And Stephen was out. Stephen was out. But his wife Yvonne was like, I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem with this. I'm good.
That's
and
funny.
She stuck behind. She was actually one of the 39 people who died.
Well, you know that these niggers didn't have any problem leaving those kids and jobs behind. You know what I'm saying? they were just looking for a reason, if you know what I mean.
Wow. I mean, yeah.
I would rather kill myself than have a job and be a father. Fuck that.
Well, to be fair, he didn't kill himself, but the mother.
No,
did.
but dude, it was only because he couldn't get pussy until he died. He
right.
wouldn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It wasn't the usual going out to get a pack of Newports and not coming back.
No, I went down here to have these niggas provide for me, and then I got there and he said I couldn't get no pussy, so I said, nigga, please. But your mom's there and she's dead though, so
yeah.
Those kids grew up with their grandmothers.
Speaking how it goes, anyways.
Speaking of other members that were still saddened or whatever, 2 of these members that had left the cult, Wayne Cook and Charlie Humphreys, actually committed suicide afterwards. They didn't get to join the original party, but they did it themselves. Humphreys actually survived the suicide pact in '97, but eventually killed himself the next year. Just, I guess, he couldn't deal with not being on the next level. Wow, that's interesting. You remember we did that episode a while back with about Jacques Vallée. Jacques Vallée actually talks about these guys, this cult, in one of his books. As far back as 79, excuse me. He talks about these contactee groups, kind of authoritarian political and religious outlooks. They were basically as nice as the guy seemed. I mean, he was definitely an authoritarian figure, this Applewhite guy. Getting people to not have sex, getting people to cut their balls off. That's authoritarian. You know what I mean? Look, we're not going to have sex.
He wasn't.
You're gonna.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, he was a nice dictator.
Well, and I think it's important to note that this was not a guy who was just trying to exploit people. He was absolutely crazy because he was doing this stuff too. The average guy who cult leader is just trying to exploit people, he would be trying to bang all his female recruits and get as much money and drugs and stuff as he can for himself. But no, this guy was 100% in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No, he was.
This is probably why he was able to get them to do so much.
I think that it was one of those things that he believed it so much that they believed it too. I mean, watching those videos, you heard that clip. He's a lunatic, this guy. And you can see it in his face when you watch these videos. He really believes it. I mean, it doesn't seem to be he doesn't seem to be putting on airs. He doesn't seem to be faking anything at all. He believes his own story. And like I said, he castrated himself and he killed himself. So, again, Jim Jones did too. But I think that's a whole different thing. We should talk about that one again one of these days.
He didn't castrate himself, though.
No, that takes a special kind of discipline to go down to Mexico and have some fucking Mexican doctor cut your nuts off. I mean,
Yeah, I'd say so. Not discipline or just being fucking insane. I mean, they think this guy may have had schizophrenia, so it's been speculated.
May have, yeah.
I think you know, early on, it may have seemed like Nettles kind of was like a catalyst for him to just get this fucking ball rolling. But I think she kept him grounded. She kept Applewhite grounded in a way. Like he went off the walls when she died. Like that's when the real crazy shit, like the castration and the suicide happened, was after Nettles had died.
Oh yeah,
that's a good point.
I don't know that the suicide would have happened. It might have happened, but
well, they still preached that the human bodies were like vessels.
Yeah,
I mean, they did still believe that, and they did have the final exit.
Right, but what I was saying is, I don't think that it would have gone down the way it went down had she not died and he'd gone completely off the rails. Some of the stuff he talks about in these videos is absolutely insane. So yeah, what a crazy bunch of kids, huh? I mean, like there's the one video I watched where the mother of a 19-year-old kid, he graduated from high school the year before, and he had been talking to his mom about wanting something different out of his life than what than normal people had, and he was gonna go check these people out. He was gonna go check out this Applewhite guy and this Heaven's Gate deal, and just see what it was like. And he ended up killing himself.
Yeah, I mean, we were laughing earlier, but this is pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it really is.
39 people. That's no fucking joke. All the families that were affected by this, there was a lot of grief and misery felt because of this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because
we skipped over the fact that before Bonnie died, they actually let family members come and visit shortly, and they did allow like a couple phone calls on like one or two occasions.
Right.
Mother's Day, I believe it was Mother's Day, was the day that they were allowed to see their family.
Yeah, and the visits had to be really, really short, and I think they said it seemed like the people were like almost running on a script, just saying like, oh no, I'm here of my own free will, it's great here, such and such, typical cult behavior.
Well, but the thing is, though, you listen to that video of that one guy, if you watch the video, you can see he looks genuine. His body language doesn't seem like he's acting. He doesn't seem like he's reading from a script. He seems like he's talking from his own heart. That's how he feels. He's not going to be dead. He's going to be on another plane of existence. They really genuinely believe this.
Well, how much of that also was like, these, I mean, obviously it played a role, but these people's delusion that this guy was a walk-in, and that kind of entailed that he could step into their body. So this was like a regurgitation of T and Doe's values.
Right. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I want to stay at this level at human. I don't think I want to go to the level above human, if that's how you got to get there.
Yeah, no, I'm good on that, dude. Trying to be a human.
My vehicle may have a couple of dings and scratches in it, but it's still my vehicle, and I'm good with that.
That's right.
Gonna run this vehicle till it dies, if you know what I'm saying.
That's right. Run it till the wheels fall off. But I'm renovating my vehicle right now. I'm working on it, fixing it up.
You getting new knees?
Amran?
No, I'm not getting new knees. I'm working out. Doing that gym thing. Do you even lift? Lift, bro?
Knee problems is a tall person thing. I forgot.
Yeah, Gigantor.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
I'm joking.
I know. It's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, man, in as much as Hale-Bopp brought closure to Heaven's Gate, why don't we bring closure to this debacle of Jesus, man? It's sad. Like Adam said, as much as we laughed, it was really sad that these people gave their lives because some freak and his weird Star Trek beliefs. Anybody got anything you want to add at the end here?
Didn't they parody this in Dude, Where's My Car?
They parodied it.
Zoltan.
They parodied it a bit. I mean, and a lot of things. Family Guy did something about it. There's a lot of music.
Yeah, this is well known in the popular media. This is like a big mass suicide in the media.
There's, Cowboy Bebop. Now you guys in your animes, Cowboy Bebop did an episode about it. There's a lot of music that goes. There's a music video called Nikes, where in the video the guy's laid out kind of in the way that these people were discovered with the little purple cloth on their face and whatever. There's the American Horror Story show. There's an episode called Drink the Kool-Aid. I forgot about that one, and it's got multiple references to the Heaven's Gate cult. So yeah, it's popular cults. It's a lot of people know about this.
There's definitely a lot of information out there for people to see if they want to see something.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't drink phenobarbital and applesauce. So
kind of goes to that saying.
Yeah. Adam, Brad,
be careful of plastic bags. Be careful of plastic bags, even if you're not on phenobarbital and vodka.
All right.
Yeah. Don't put a bag over your head.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Anybody else besides
stupid enough to put a bag on? Yeah, if you're stupid enough to put a bag on your head, then put a fucking bag on your head. Never mind. Okay. I retract my statement.
All right.
Yeah,
all
man.
Right,
you mind if I show something here, real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Larry. I was gonna get the guys the regs over here. Adam, you got anything?
Oh shit.
No. I mean,
Brad,
time travel makes you gay.
Yep. Brad, you done interrupting me?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, cool. Yeah, Larry, Mr. Larry Ridgeway, formerly of the Alt-Right Rises, now of the new show called Haidt House on Vandal Void. Would you go ahead and do some shilling for us, buddy?
Yeah, I was gonna say to go listen to Haidt House. We have Johnny on again this week. Frequently joins us. So
I was on the first episode.
Yeah, and Bradshaw was on before. Adam, you should come on sometime.
Yeah, dude.
I just that's a good idea. I just might.
It's a good time. You get to talk.
Don't really have to do don't got to do any work for the show. You don't have to really read anything. We just kind of shit on black people and stuff. So
a lot of angry posting. Yeah, a lot of angry posting. Hence the name Haidt House, abbreviated as 88. All right. That's about it for Adam, Brad, and Larry. I'm Johnny. This has been the Paranormies present the Ahnenerbe Hour. We're going to take you out with a creepypasta read by our very own Bradshaw Wilson. What do we got this week, Brad?
Well, I want you to, snuggle up if you're listening to this in your bed, get nice and warm and toasty and try and feel a little safe.
All right. We will finish up with that, and we'll see you later.
Many people have irrational phobias. I have the opposite. My apartment always makes me feel safe. Safe to the point where some might call me crazy. No matter what problems I might have, I don't have to worry as long as I have a locked door and a few tightly shut windows up on the 3rd floor of my apartment complex. Nothing can get in, nothing can get me here. I'm safe. This is why I didn't particularly care when I first saw her outside my bedroom window. Besides, her appearance wasn't something you'd typically associate with a horror movie. Her skin was a light, healthy, yellow-white, and she had long, dark, amber hair that flowed elegantly behind her. Despite not being the least bit affected by the windstorm that had been testing the strength of the oak trees. Yes, she was transparent, and yes, she was hovering outside my 3rd-story window, and yes, she was lovingly caressing a long, rusted razor blade. But I was home, and the window was shut, so I was perfectly safe. I began to study her, looking up at her face from my seat. She appeared to do the same. For some reason, her transparency didn't strike me as being odd as much as it should have. In fact, it almost seemed perfectly normal. There was definitely something about it that made it seem as if it wasn't supernatural. She certainly didn't appear to be a ghost or a phantom. At least not in the way one normally pictures them. And she wasn't exactly levitating either. She was just standing there, as if on a flat surface which couldn't actually be there. She finished studying my own face. She nodded to herself and moved towards the window, brandishing her razor. And then I smelled her. A nauseating, pungent aroma of flowers being used to mask the odor of a decaying corpse. I began to feel uneasy. Was the scent really so intense? that I was noticing it through the closed window? No. I felt absolute, sickening fear. All the pieces fell into place. Why her transparency seemed natural. Why she was standing instead of levitating. Why her hair wasn't affected by the wind. Why her lifeless, gray skin and sickly black hair appeared healthy when bathed in the glow of the yellow light bulb behind me and reflected in the window.